Hello, my name is Kayla Whitechurch. Welcome to my EPT127 digital photo story. As you can see, there will be two parts to the presentation: what makes an effective K-2 literacy classroom, and young literacy learners themselves as speakers, listeners, readers, writers, viewers and creators. During the first 12 slides of the digital photo story, what makes an effective K-2 literacy classroom will be the point of discussion. An effective early years literacy classroom employs a balanced approach during kindergarten through to Year 2, catering for the learning abilities and needs of children between the ages of 4 and 8. A balanced approach to literacy teaching incorporates the teaching of constrained and unconstrained skills through the use of authentic texts and meaningful contexts. This approach allows language and its complexity to be kept intact, as children are given the opportunity to work with whole words and messages, as opposed to activities which focus on individual aspects of literacy. A balanced approach to teaching literacy allows opportunities for all language modes, including listening and speaking texts, reading and writing texts, and viewing and creating texts, to be addressed through formal and informal literacy experiences. A balanced literacy program creates an effective K-2 literacy classroom through an equal implementation of modelled, guided and independent learning, produced through whole class, small group and individual learning activities. This sees the use of the gradual release of responsibility model, where the responsibility for literacy learning transitions from teacher to student over a period of time through scaffolding and mentoring. That is, teachers support students to move from dependent to independent learners. Implied by Vygotsky, teachers support students to move through their zone of proximal development. The balanced approach to literacy teaching also allows teachers to meet and respond to the different learning needs of their students through the provision of adequate scaffolding at individual rates. This allows students to progress as learners and as a result creates an effective early years literacy classroom. A balanced approach to literacy development also allows students to develop literacy capabilities across Luke and Freebody's 4 resources model: code breaking, meaning making, text analysing and text using. The 4 resources model outlines the literacy capabilities which are drawn upon to interact and engage with any print-based, spoken, visual or digital text. An effective K-2 literacy classroom allows opportunities for students to decode texts, understand text, evaluate texts and use text for a variety of purposes. An effective early years literacy classroom emphasises that these resources are integrated and utilised through the processes of reading, writing, speaking, listening, viewing and creating. An effective K-2 literacy classroom also integrates the use of cueing systems through the balanced literacy program to support early literacy development. Students call on multiple cues to read and write with meaning, which sees the learner process language through graphophonic, pragmatic, semantic and syntactic cueing systems. Goodman argues that these systems support reading and writing development as learners bring with them a knowledge of language, experimental backgrounds and conceptual frameworks when learning literacy. An effective and balanced literacy program allows opportunities for learners to draw on and use these cueing systems during literacy and language learning. Cairnborn's conditions for literacy and language learning can also be effective when creating a K-2 literacy classroom, as the conditions help teachers consider the important roles that interactions and the environment play in learning to speak, listen, read, write, view and create. Cairnborn's conditions allow teachers to provide students the opportunities to develop their knowledge about literature, language and literacy. It is asserted that literacy and language learning proceeds when children are immersed in a literacy environment that is surrounded by a variety of text and authentic uses of language. As shown in the images on the slide, immersion within the classroom can be created through extensive classroom libraries and through the display of environmental prints such as wall displays. Within the literacy environment, Cairnborn suggests that demonstrations of language in use give children the opportunity to see and hear literacy and language being used for meaningful reasons. As the slide shows, teachers can integrate demonstration into their literacy classroom through the modelling of reading and writing behaviours. Cairnborn argues that immersion and demonstration must then be accompanied by engagement with literacy experiences as children learn to read and write when they are involved in the process. Children should be given opportunities to use and engage with reading and writing experiences. Shown on the slide, literacy engagement can be developed through the provision and easy access of reading and writing materials. Learners should then be given feedback through a meaningful response, as it is suggested that children learn to read and write by engaging with others to socially construct meaning. As shown in the slide, author circles and partner reading give children the opportunities to receive feedback and response in regards to their literacy development. A successful language environment also allows learners to learn to read, write and speak through approximation. By allowing students to make best guesses and providing have-a-go strategies when reading, writing and speaking, students become aware of what words say, how they are spelled and what they sound like. The probability of language and literacy learning is also stated to be enhanced when both the learner and others have developed expectations of success. There is an expectation from both the student and teacher that one will learn to read, write and speak in school settings. To support these expectations, literacy classrooms should be stocked with a variety of text types and text levels to encourage and support children to achieve more sophisticated literacy levels. Campbell's final condition for literacy learning is responsibility. As children are permitted to take responsibility and ownership of their own learning to read, write and speak for meaningful reasons, they learn that literacy allows them as individuals to meet their needs by choosing which aspect of language to attend to. To encourage responsibility in the literacy classroom, learners should be given the opportunity to read, write and speak texts that they find personally meaningful. Conclusively, an effective K-2 literacy classroom employs a balanced approach to literacy teaching. This approach sees literacy programs which provide a balance of listening, speaking, reading, writing, viewing and creating opportunities through the integration of the gradual release and responsibility model. This includes a balance of model, guided and independent learning experiences created through a variety of whole class, small group and individual activities. A balanced approach to literacy also incorporates opportunities for students to use and develop upon the 4 resources model and the queuing systems, while drawing on Campbell's conditions for literacy and language learning to understand the roles that both the environment and interactions hold during learning. It is suggested that students best learn through an integrated approach that promotes all aspects of literacy and ensures students become equipped with the full range of literacy capabilities they need when listening, speaking, reading, writing, viewing and creating. We will now move to the second part of the digital photo story, where the following 8 slides will discuss young literacy learners themselves. As young literacy learners, children develop as speakers, listeners, readers, writers, viewers and creators. This sees learners comprehend text through receptive modes including listening, reading and viewing, and compose text through productive modes of speaking, writing and creating. As speakers, children communicate meaning to others through oral language. Meaningful speech develops as the speaker translates a thought into an oral message. Students develop speaking skills through a variety of formal and informal experiences. Formal speaking opportunities allow students to examine the ways in which information, emotion and meaning are communicated through non-verbal cues such as tone, volume, pace and fluency, while informal speaking opportunities strengthen students' thoughts and vocabulary. As listeners, children learn to understand spoken language and construct meaning through the interpretation of sound. Students learn to make connections between spoken sounds and their meanings. Through listening, students learn to take in new ideas and information by decoding oral symbols to construct meaning. As listeners, they acquire skills to comprehend language, dialects, and also interpret sound other than speech. Through listening, students observe language patterns and the effect of punctuation, volume, pace, tone, and rhythm. As readers, children learn to interpret and understand written language. Readers learn to translate written symbols and connect meaning with the ways these symbols have been presented. Through reading, students engage with texts in a variety of different ways, including analysing, critically thinking, comprehending and responding. Students draw on the 3 queuing systems and use semantic, syntactic and graphophonic relationships when decoding and creating meaning from text. As writers, children communicate through written language. Students use writing to represent speech, to communicate with others and to explore ideas, experiences and emotions. During writing, students develop an understanding of spelling and grammar rules and patterns and structures of the language. Writing engages students in skills to plan, compose, construct, edit, revise and publish messages while allowing students to use imagination when interpreting human experiences. As viewers, learners interpret visual media. Here, students learn to understand and make meaning of non-print text and generally combine visual and oral elements to do so. The messages received through viewing are comprehended using the same skills that are utilised by the learner when reading. As students view, they learn that ideas, values, beliefs and biases are conveyed through imagery as well as through words and print. As creators, students learn to communicate and present meaning through the construction of a piece of work. Students learn to represent meaning through deciding for themselves on the best way to convey meaning to others. Creation requires children to produce a product for the purpose of effective communication with either themselves or others. Students use creation as a means of exploring and generating ideas and for a variety of purposes, including expression, aesthetics, and practical purposes. The discussed range of language skills are developed by the young literacy learners simultaneously and continue to develop and be refined. As learners, individuals continue to have experiences speaking, listening, reading, writing, viewing and creating throughout their lifetime. That brings us to an end of my digital photo story. Thank you for your viewing time and I hope it was an enjoyable experience. The following slides contain references and permissions to publish.